Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. It is me, Dean, and once again, I have Devin with me.
Hey everybody, hopefully everyone had a good weekend. Hopefully everyone enjoyed watching NAIC. I know one of the two of us was actually there. We're going to talk about that experience today as well. But Dean, before we go into your experience and going about really the adventure that is an international competition, let's talk about the results, talk about some of the pros and cons of the finals and how everything was run, and then we'll go into kind of you telling us what it means to be at a big tournament like that.
Yeah, so as Devin mentioned, as you can tell by some of the swag I got, I was at the North America International Championships. We'll go into that a little more. This was my first IC. I typically don't go to these level of competitions, but I found myself fortunate enough to get a spot in the first wave. So that was really fun. But while I was there, I was able to watch part of the top cut at NAIC. Um, so we'll go into it. The event was won by Isaiah Bradner. So going from winning his first regional just a couple months ago to winning his first IC, and he's not a stranger to IC stage too. He's been a finalist before, but
Yeah,
now he has that one under his belt. And the runner-up was Riley McKay from Canada, both of which were playing Gardevoir.
yeah. So another Gardenier, which is what everyone wanted to see. But I think
I
part
have
of
stories about that when we found out it was going to be a Gardevoir.
oh, I can only imagine. But the better part of this is the fact that very interestingly, Dragapult did not make the final. And I say that purely from a numbers perspective. I know you were telling me that Dragapult was so popular, they had to break it down into two different archetypes just so it wasn't so domineering in terms of its meta share.
Yeah, so if you look at the graphic, I was trying to pull it up, I don't see it.
I have
I
it
may
in
have to
front of me, yeah. So Dragapult, if you would combine both archetypes of Dragapult was almost 13% of the meta, which that would make it the number 2 deck in day one. Now,
yeah,
but they decided to spread it out to two different numbers of 6.5, 6.5 almost. And I mean, I agree with it. Dragapult Dusknoir and Dragapult Charizard definitely play as two different types of decks, so it makes sense that they split that up. But the number 1 deck was Raging Bolt, the number 2 deck was Marnie, and then the number 3 deck was Gardevoir. So it's
hmm
one of those situations where no shock on the top 3. I think Marnie being number 2 is the new surprise entrant, but if you were on the ladder anytime leading up to NAIC, you're not surprised that Marnie was so popular.
No, absolutely. I knew Marnie Grimstar was going to be on the graphic. The question is, was it going to be 1, 2, or 3? 4, 5, and 6 wasn't even in the conversation. We knew this was going
Mm-hmm.
to be a very popular deck. Had great matches. Its Gardevoir matchup is really good. I think what slows it down as a going to the number 1 deck is one, Raging Bolt's easy to pick up and it's just very good right now.
Yeah.
And two, the Marnie's Grimstall deck can be very inconsistent, as we can tell with the top cut with Piper Lapine or Piper Lapine.
Piper
She
Lapine.
played Marnie's Grimstall. She was the only one in top 8 to play a deck from Destined Rivals. And people were talking about her match. She's like, yeah, I just bricked. Her
Mm-hmm.
opponent won 2-0, and she was like, I didn't even play the game because my deck wouldn't let me. And
Yeah.
I've heard that numerous times from players that play Marnie Grimsnarl. Obviously, it's a good deck. It brought Piper all the way to top 8. But once in a while, if depending on the situation, you just can't play. And honestly, if you look at the stream from this weekend, you actually see that a lot with some of the decks. There was a lot of quick 2-0 matches on stream this weekend.
Yeah, I mean the meta right now is very aggressive. It's the time of the year that everyone's preparing for best 2 or 3 matches and not best of 1 matches. So they're playing
Mm-hmm.
faster decks, they're playing more aggressive decks, And as a result, you're seeing more 2-0s because both players are probably going at all gas, no brakes. So someone has to crash out. So I think with
Mhm.
the Dragapult meta, which is called what it is, a Dragapult meta, you're going to see a lot more 2-0s because Dragapult can put that pressure on very quickly.
Yeah, it's I would say it's that and a mixture of the decks are not as consistent anymore, just because there's so much you can do in the and you're trying to play against the top deck. So like, okay, how can I beat Dragapult? Oh, how can I beat the Grimmsnarl deck? You have to find ways to really be aggressive with those, and sometimes you have to lose consistency. And the deck that I chose to play, like me and my and the person that we shared the list with, we played the most aggressive form of our deck, and it's supposed to be like all gas, no break. We were done within 30 minutes, and we still went to time in majority of our matches, just because yes, we're in a quote unquote aggressive format, but because of the number of stage twos and how much setup a lot of these decks are, you're going to time. So you only have time to play 2 matches. You don't even have time to play 3.
Yeah. No, and I think any deck that goes, I'm going to try to play 3, you are definitely playing with fire no matter what level of event you're going to, let alone an IC. Doing that at a regional, doing that at a top cut of a cup, like that's playing with fire. Like
Oh
you
yeah,
should try to win 2-0. Like it's one of those situations where either you win 2-0 or lose 0-2, and then you just kind of move on.
yeah, and as you said, this is just the format that we're in. It is definitely being pull along, highlighted by Gardevoir, Dragapult, and now with Grimmsnarl. Those are the top 3 decks, and I will say once in a while Raging Bolt. But if you look at the top, Raging Bolt wasn't really around. The
Raging
highest
Bolt
the
was,
highest Raging Bolt was 15th.
yeah, which I think was the bottom of the top cut, right? 15, 16.
Yes, there was a 15% top cut, so almost 16, but it was 15th. So the number one ranked player, which I believe, ironically enough, was the Toll Scroll deck.
Yeah,
So that player made top cut. So going from Portland making top cut to getting top 8 at NAIC, Ray Chen is on a nice little tear right now. She is unstoppable with that deck, and it shows. Like she went 10-0. I think her final record was like 11-1-0 or something like that before getting eliminated from the tournament. But yeah, only one Raging Bolt in the top cut, which is very surprising because that came in with being super popular, super good,
yeah. It was the
and
most. It
just
was
the
the
amount of
most.
drag pull around, it's just knocking it down.
It's the most played deck day one. It was the most played deck in day two. If you look at the statistics of the tournament, Raging Bolt gained the second most points out of all the decks in the tournament. But the problem is Dragapult earned almost double that and only had 20.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of ratio, there was 66 Raging Bolt decks and 88 Dragapult decks. And the 22 more Dragapult decks earned twice as many points as Raging Bolt. And then Gardevoir was the third most used card deck and gained 447, but two of the finalists, both finalists were Gardevoir, so that's where a good chunk of points definitely came from.
And
So
then one of the top 4 was also Gardevoir. Because
yeah,
we knew Gardevoir was going to make the finals regardless, because it was Pult, Gardevoir, Gardevoir, Gardevoir. That
yeah,
was the top 4 of the tournament. And we're watching this, and I was actually at a Pokemon event, and we're all watching the semifinals, and we're like, okay, who is basically who is it going to be a Gardevoir mirror, or is it going to be Gardevoir and Dragapult?
yeah,
With Dragapult being Tord. He was
yeah,
the lone representative, not being Gardevoir. And don't get me wrong, I love watching Pokemon no matter what, but seeing another Guardian Mirror, as as big of a fan of the game I am, sometimes it's just so. I was wishing for and hoping for something different. That's all.
yeah. I mean, you can only watch the same type of matchup over and over again without being kind of it's the same as entertainment, right? It's great when there's an underdog or like a story to tell. And Gardevoir right now is not the story to tell. Everyone I think was hoping for Ray Chen. She played Toadscrow Ogerpon, and everyone was really hoping for her to take that win because at least it
Mm-hmm.
was something different. Or even Piper. Piper playing Grimmsnarl. Yes, it's something different. Piper is a very accomplished player, and seeing that she could have gotten her opportunity at the NAIC Championship would have been a great story. But when it came to where your top four was three Guardies and a Dragapult, I think the average consumer of the trading card game was like, all right, we've seen this before. So the real only story is, will Isaiah get his first championship? Will Tord finally get a win at IC for the first time in a good little bit? Like there's somewhat these subplots really weren't there for people to really want to keep on investing it, but they're good games. Don't get me wrong. It's just we're getting tired of watching this.
I know for a little bit it was like a Badoo war, and then all of a sudden it turned into a Monkey Dory war, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, now the Gardevoirs are attacking, and it's like, for those who have a very like analytical mind that can see all these little things, I'm sure they found enjoyment with the Gardevoir Mirror. Just watching it week in, week out.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I watched it on my way back, traveling home. Was I like thrilled through it? I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, they're gonna Monkey Dory here. I'm like, okay, I can see why they did so and so, but it wasn't like powerhouse knockouts or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It went to time, of course.
Of course.
But overall, it was still good watching high level Pokemon, no matter what the decks are. It's always a very enjoyable to watch that and just learn from it. Being a average Pokemon player, seeing the people that spend time and all this effort and dedication, seeing how they see the game, seeing the lines that I wouldn't see, it's very interesting, no matter what deck it is. So
Yeah.
that part I found very interesting. We talked about some of the other players that made top 8. One deck I want to kind of highlight that made top 8 that no one was expecting was the Enton's Toolbox deck.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling you off stream, I'm not surprised that Enzoric is good. All the pieces to it just seem too good. Like the Reshiram has an outrage attack and just a flat 170 that you're doing for two darkness. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Darmanitan's attack with the backdraft really can punish certain archetypes. The Flame Body Cannon is spread. Like those two attacks just put you in so many good, or those two cards. So 4 total attacks can put you into what attack are they doing and when do they need to do it kind of situation. I'm super glad that it got the attention from the run.
The one thing I really like about this deck is that Cameron Shinoy, he brought a different way of playing it to where usually we see the ends toolbox being very assertive, very aggressive, trying to hit hard. He went more defensive. If you look at his list, he plays 2 Rigid Band and a 1 Defiance Belt, basically saying, hey, you can attack me. You're not one-shotting me. You're barely two-shotting me. And I'm just going to hit harder because I'm just taking in this damage. And with that, he plays 2 Professor Churro scenario. He was like, try hitting me. Oh, I have 10 HP left. Do you think you're going to get me? Turo down, pick it all up. Now try again. Start all over. While he has a fresh Pokemon up and he's going to attack like crazy. Just that whole defense style, no one really saw coming with this archetype, and he made it look really easy. I watched that match in the audience, and no disrespect to his opponent, which was playing Pulsard. He had no shot. Like, he won, took all his prizes before his opponent took even 1 prize in game 2. It was really cool to see this type of deck work against one of the most powerhouse decks, like a deck that's known to hit hard.
Mhm.
and just laughing in his face like, yeah, it's not hard enough, try again.
Yeah, and it does not surprise me that trade is good. It doesn't surprise me that Zoroark that can copy stuff is good. The question always is what can Zoroark copy to make itself good? And the Reshiram is just the Reshiram on paper looks awful. 4 energy, 170 never feels great. Outrage attack on a medium-sized HP Pokemon doesn't feel great. But if you're able to copy that for 2 energy, those are now becoming really good attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting really good return on investment from your energy. And then add in NPP up, add in recovery cards. Like, it's like, oh, you can streamline this very easily.
Yeah, I think this is probably the build that people are going to gravitate towards. One, it made top 8 at NAIC. Two, it's just a different way of playing the game. I think it has a great balance of being really assertive and hitting hard, while also staying back and taking damage and just knowing how to really play certain supporters at the right time and hitting for being a dark type, hitting grass for weakness. Is or no, I'm sorry,
Hitting
grass hits it for
Gardevoir.
weakness, and there's not a grass deck out there, so you're hitting Gardevoir for weakness. It's just it's in a very well good position. I think people are finally seeing after this weekend, like, oh, this is a viable option. Because I remember conversations leading into NAIC, they said that Enzorark was a done deck. Grimmsnarl was going to take full advantage of it. The different new cards, it can't keep up, and obviously it did.
Yeah, and it's just one of those, everyone makes certain assumptions of what the meta is going to be, and then you have to wait for a tournament to see what players kind of come up with. That's always the case.
Yeah, absolutely. But with any tournament, there's always some rogue decks that make day 2 and actually do pretty well for themselves. So I know there's a couple that you want to talk about. So what's the first? We'll talk about just like 2 or 3, but what is the first deck that made day 2 at NEIC that you want to talk about, Devin?
Well, for me, the rogue deck of the tournament, outside, I'm going to ignore Ray Chen's Toad Scroll Ogerpon deck because we talked about that from Portland. That is one player doing really well of an archetype, and Ray Chen deserves all the kudos for being able to master that. But the other deck that I saw was Ho-Oh Armor Rouge, and it is interesting.
Yeah,
I've looked over the list and I'm still trying to figure it out, but the way you described it to me, it's the same concept of RCS Firebox, which is just a little bit of repackaging.
yeah. I actually looked at this when Dustin Ravels was first announced, and someone in the Pokemon community posted this, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I actually played Arceus Firebox right before it rotated at the challenge before rotation, and I went 3-0 with it, and it offers a lot of interesting like outs and strategies. So it's legit. It's just a toolbox. It has an answer to everything. So it's up to you to know what you're going against and how to find that answer. And it's literally it's one. There's 20 Pokemon, and most of them are one-ofs. The only repeat Pokemon is you play 3 Charge-to-Get, 2 Armarouge, and 2 Ho-EXs.
Yeah.
Everything else is 1. So it's basically what didn't you prize? Okay, cool. I figure out what's prize. How can I work around what's in my deck? And then hopefully you have an Ethan Toro to accelerate the energy on board, and then you use the Armarouge to move the energy to your attacker, and you can just pick and choose what attack you want to do.
So, just for clarity purposes on the Armarouge's ability, the Fire Off ability, Armarouge will see the Luminous and Legacy energies as fire energy when proccing the ability, and then you move that to the active, and then those are still Luminous and Legacy energies for the attack cost, correct?
Correct, because the way it sees it's a good example is the metal transfer ability on the Bronzong from a couple seasons ago, or probably a couple years ago at this point. You can move metal energy from one Pokemon to another. Typically, once it goes in your hand, is not a metal energy, but it just literally goes. It doesn't really have like an in between phase. So when it's on your Pokemon, you can call it a fire energy, then move it to your active, and it being one of any energy type at once time, it can count as whatever energy you need at that point. So a good example is you move it to an Iron Hands EX, the Legacy or the Luminous can count as that lightning energy you need for MP very much. If you're using the Wellspring Ogerpon, it can count for the water energy, so you can do the torrential pump and then do the bench damage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whatever energy you need for that situation.
Gotcha. Okay. I was reading it and I'm like, I think I understand the mechanic. I just want to explain the mechanic just in case someone does have questions on this deck. So, I mean,
Yeah, and another example is the Baby Okidogi deck, where it uses the Luminous energy and it counts for the darkness energy for the ability, but also counts for the fighting energy for the attack. It's whatever you need for that situation, it counts.
exactly. So I thought that was really cool. Like I said, I didn't want to ignore the Toad Scroll deck, but we talked about it as part of Portland, so it's just the same pilot, same everything. So I didn't want to. I wanted to yes, that's there, but we already talked about it once before. The other deck that I would consider rogue that I want to talk about is Ogre Pawn Box.
That's just Terra Box, though.
Yeah, it's just Terra Box, but it doesn't run any of the knockdown, so it's legitimately just Ogre Pawn, which is why I thought that was interesting. It's a three Ogre Pawns, so it's no Fire Ogre Pawn, and then you have Lillie's Clefairy for your Dragapult matchup, and then you have your Blood Moon Ursaluna for late game kind of sweeping. So I thought that was interesting. I think I would consider it separate from a standard Terra Box. It got 35th, so it got top 64, just outside of the top 32. And this is very interesting. Obviously, it has the Teal Mask Ogre Pawn with a lot of grass energy to deck as its draw engine. It has the Cornerstone, the Wall abilities. It has the Wellspring that do spread. And then you have the, like I said, Lillie's Clefairy to deal with your dragons. So I think this is very well built to handle the top 4 meta decks. And then you kind of just have to adjust to anything that isn't Gardevoir, Raging Bolt, Zoroark, stuff like that.
Yeah, this goes back to actually one of my good friend's favorite deck is Ogre Pawn Box, and he played it at a bunch of different tournaments, and he did really well with it because no one really expects it. Everyone thinks once you start with Teal Master Ogre Pawn, you're like, okay, this is either Raging Bolt or this is so and so deck, and then you just start attacking with it. It's like, what are you doing? Did you prize your Raging Bolts? It's like, no, this is on purpose. I want to attack with my Ogre Pawns. And then you use Ogre Mask to switch whichever Ogre Pawn you need to hit for weakness, or if you need a stall with the Cornerstone. It's very versatile, and you use item cards to change your versatility. But that being said, it is reliant on item cards, and Bidoo is still a threat in this format.
Yeah, I think you have enough early pressure draw where even getting item locked early isn't going to hurt you because you need a setup anyway.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 decks I really found that I liked the most, I guess, for lack of better terms. Obviously, I love the Toad Scroll deck, but it's one of those situations where we've talked about it, and I don't want to keep on giving it attention, not because it doesn't deserve it, but because there's other decks that deserve just as much of attention. So wanted to highlight those decks.
Yeah, the 2 decks I want to talk about is at 60, so top 64, Fabian Pujols played Cynthia's Garchomp. I found that very interesting because there was a Masters Invitational held a couple days before NAIC, and he played this in the Invitational and got top 8 with it. So it's the Cynthia's Garchomp deck. It's the list that Joe played on the stream. So 443 of the Garchomp EX, Cynthia's Garchomp EX, 2 Roserade, 2 Monkey Dories. I know that's a newer edition, is playing with the Monkey Dories now. 1 Cynthia's Spiritomb, and then 1 Bidoo. So really, it's just get your Garchomp EX, put the tool on there, be a tank, and then just either use Monkey Dory to get the damage off of you, or worst case scenario, you have the Cynthia's Spiritomb, and just hit hard for a single prize Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that this did fairly well as well. I know a lot of people were saying hit or miss things about Garchomp, but 6 players took this to day 2.
Yeah, and they all
So
took a little bit different approach with it too. Like Fabian's list is the only one of his actual 60. The other Garchomp,
mhm.
they have small little adjustments here and there. So, but I think I like the Monkey Dory. I think that a lot of people are like, oh, you want to have a whole bunch of damage so you can maximize your Spiritomb. But at the end of the day, you still want your Garchomps to survive.
Yes.
So just moving 30 could fix math. Moving, because it's only, well, he runs 3 Monkey Dories, so you can move like 2 to 3. But you're probably having 1 Spiritomb, 2 Garchomps, a Monkey Dory, and a Roserade. So your
hmm
bench is already tight, so you're not running a lot of Monkey Dory unless it's later in the game and you've already done what you needed to do with the Roserade. So
Exactly, yeah. So I like it. It's very tanky, but still hits hard. We're just waiting for it to be really fully optimized, and having a player like Fabian Pulls play it and show that this is a good deck. It's just the start of this archetype going forward. And when we get the Mega set, it gets a new like power shake tool where it even hits harder. So if we thought this was hitting hard now, just wait to September, and that power level is just going to skyrocket.
yeah, I don't think it needs to hit harder. I think it just needs to hit faster.
Yeah. So, and the last deck I want to talk about is actually a Team Rocket deck. So, I didn't realize this was an archetype going into NAIC. So it's Rocket's toolbox, or in Limitless they call it Rocket Spidops. I call it a toolbox, but I never knew this archetype existed. I knew about playing with Mewtwo EX, and you kind of play heavy on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But in this list, it's more reliant on the Spidops. So it's a 4/4 line with the Spidops, 2 Mimikyus, 2 Articunos, 1 Murkrow, and only 1 Mewtwo EX. So you still have the Mewtwo in there for heavy damage towards late game, but you really are trying to hit hard with the Spidops as a single prize. You're hitting 180 with a full bench, and you're just hoping you hit those good matches with the Grimstar, with the Dragon, with the Zarpults, the Charizards, and hit the weakness there. But then, like with the Articuno, you're preventing damage from the Dragapult because of its ability. And then with the Murkrow, you can tell your opponent you can't attack with a certain attack because it has a Torment attack, which shuts off the attack on your active Pokemon. And I believe they cannot retreat. I'm actually going to double check that.
No, it's just choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attack during your opponent's next turn. That Pokemon can't use that attack.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
so it isn't a cornering card by any means, but it's one of those like if you use that Team Rocket Murkrow against a Zoroark, he can't Night Joker unless he has something.
Or on the stream match, there was a version of this deck on stream against Godango.
Can't make
Torment,
it.
he can't make it rain. That's the only attack that card has.
Yeah, so it's really good against cards that really have one attack on it, because a lot of the better cards only have one attack in it. Basically, it's ability attack. That's it. So it's a
Yep.
really smart, disruptive card because you're not going to try the Torment and KO with the 30. You're trying to Torment to slow your opponent down for 1 turn and maybe 2 turns to set while you set up your bench.
Yeah, it's really a good card to prolong your game so you can get a better board state, because your Spot Ups needs a full bench. Mewtwo needs at least four Pokemon, including itself, in play. You do need to have a fairly good size board state to really do well with this deck. And if your opponent can somehow get rid of that board state, you're going to be struggling for the rest of the match.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised a box archetype came from the Team Rocket kind of piece of this set because there were so many Team Rocket cards. Like we were talking about when we were going over the Team Rocket cards, that I'm like, oh, you have the Wobbuffet, you have the Mimikyu, you have the Spidops, you have the Articuno, you have the Moltres, you have the Zapdos. Like the list goes on and on and on, where it's like there has to be a combination that makes sense. And this looks like it's the beginning of that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, one regular Mewtwo heavy deck did make day 2 as well. But I wanted to talk about this because I never even knew this toolbox deck existed. And I was talking to the people I was staying with. They're like, yeah, you never heard of this? Like, that's what everyone's playing now. I'm like, everyone's just talking about Mewtwo and how, like, mid it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw this on stream, and I'm like, this is super impressive. Like, I want to get my hands on this. I like playing the more toolbox style decks.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how it works when I touch it. But that was another road deck that I wanted to bring up because I wasn't expecting much from this archetype, and I'm glad that someone took it to day 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an overview of the top of day 2 Championship Sunday. I know the biggest criticism coming from Sunday was how long it took. So Dean, did you stay for Championship Sunday or did you have a flight out?
I flew out. I did not watch anything live. What we did was we went to the venue. We had to grab something because one of my friends, he actually made day 2 and he had to get his prize packs. So I went with him to the venue. We grabbed his prize packs, went to the Riverwalk next door, grabbed some beignets, and headed to the airport.
So the Championship Sunday, I guess the biggest controversy, if you want to say it, was it went long, like super long. Halfway through VGC, like they were doing seniors VGC game 2, and they started handing out packs of Destined Rivals as a thank you for staying. We're sorry this took so long. I think it went like an hour and a half, 2 hours longer than expected.
That I did not know about. Now I wish I would have stayed because I want to open Destined Rival packs.
Yeah, they just gave out booster packs because it was almost 2 hours longer than scheduled. Like the Unite final was quick. The Go winners final had some controversy, so that ate up time before it went into the grand finals. I didn't watch any of the VGC, but any of the TCG, sorry. But TCG historically is the longest portion of it, which is why it's always the second to last one. So then they go to VGC, and VGC is typically quick, but they were still almost 2 hours behind schedule. So that was the biggest issue that a lot of people had. So on Championship Sunday, they started at like 10 a.m.
Yes.
And it went to
10 a.m. New Orleans time too.
Yeah, and it went to almost like 8 p.m.
Yeah, when I landed, I was still watching it. I'm like, oh, it's still going on. So I'm like, I wasn't too surprised.
That wasn't the plan.
Well, I wasn't surprised because this is one of the first times they've done Unite on Championship Sunday. Normally they don't do Unite on Championship Sunday.
They don't.
But if that went very quick, then yeah, I guess I know the TCG games went long because I think almost all of them went to game 3 to time into overtime. And that's just TCG. I don't know much about Go. I watched Go a little bit. I'm like, this is okay.
The Go didn't go long. Didn't do Go too bad. I watched the winners final where the winners final had a protest. So there was like a 10-minute discussion of the protest because it was a lag protest. And then the judges determined, no, that lag was not the reason why you didn't win. Because he was claiming that lag was the reason why he lost the game 5. Because it was game 5 lag protest. So it was a protest that the player had to put in. It's like, look, if I win this, I win the winners final. If I lose this, I go to the losers final. So it was an appropriate protest. Don't get me wrong, but it ate up like 10 minutes.
Yeah, those are hard to call. I remember being in a professor seminar about that stuff, and I still don't know the full details on how to figure out if it's lag or not lag. Go is not my thing. But yeah, those can take time, so I totally understand it. But even with all the controversy of how long it was, I want to say, I think one of my favorite moments of seeing a little bit of Championship Sunday is that the junior finals was between a brother and a sister.
Yeah, I
thought that was really cute.
Yeah, I told my wife, I'm like, oh, the TCG juniors was brother and sister. She goes, oh, that's cute. I'm like, yeah, Pokemon ate that up.
Yeah. And it's just how they were interacting with each other the whole entire time too. Like seeing that in itself, it's just like really cool that like the family is going to be like someone in their family is going to win, someone in their family is going to get second place. And I think they've been following this family for all year too. Yeah. So it's really cool to see that storyline and seeing the sister win and and the brother being so excited that she won. And we always talk about the negative things about these tournaments, but once in a while we have to recognize like just how awesome moments like that can be and how it can really bring a smile and why we love playing this game as well.
Yeah, and then there was two different Triple Crowns during the event. So Unite got the Triple Crown. So basically they won all ICs during the year, and then the TCG Senior got a Triple Crown as well. So in the seniors division, the same person
not
won
just
all
a
three
Triple
ICs.
Crown. He achieved the most amount of CP you can earn in a season.
So he maxed out on everything.
So he got all three ICs. He won like 4 regionals, and then he maxed out on all his locals. Like he achieved the most amount of points that a player can achieve.
Yeah,
this season.
Everyone goes, "Oh, it's a Grand Slam." I said, "No. Grand Slam is 4." You're missing one.
He won Worlds last year too.
Did he win Worlds last year?
I want to say that. I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, if he won Worlds last year, then yes, he has a true Grand Slam. I just know it's a triple crown.
And he's the front runner to win Worlds. Like if you all don't know who we're talking about Gabriel Fernandez. He is a powerhouse in the seniors division. I believe he's actually aging up this season too.
Yeah, this is his last year in seniors. I know that for a fact.
So seniors, am I right? No, I was not right. He did not win. He got 4th place.
Okay, so he is basically, this is a revenge tour. Yeah. Let's call it what it is. Yeah, he's won 6 internationals at the senior level.
Yeah, he's won before, just not last year. The winner last year. The good thing is the winner last year is down in the Masters, so he doesn't have to worry about that player.
He's like, there's my door.
Yeah, but he doesn't need an open door. Like he is a force to be reckoned with. Like when his brother went into Masters, everyone was like, "Oh man, like I can't wait to see what this dude's what this guy's gonna do." His brother is just as scary, if not scarier.
Yeah.
Like next season when I go to these tournaments, he is going to be a name that I need to watch out for.
Yeah. So again, 2 Triple Crowns, so 2 sweeps of the ICs during the year. Isaiah Bradner finally won got his international win. He got runner-up at this very same tournament in 2022. So Isaiah got his roses finally, and Isaiah's a good player. There is no he needed this. Everyone knows how good he is. But
yeah.
With that being said, Dean, you were there. So why don't we talk about your experience at the tournament, all aspects of it? I know it's more than just a game because it's 3 days. So let's talk about the Friday. Let's talk about the Saturday, and then obviously you just said Sunday you were flying back, so we're not going to talk about Sunday as much. So
I was there
everything
too. Like that was check-in day for me.
So Friday, what time did you get to the venue on Friday?
So the event started at 9 o'clock. I got there like 7:30 with my buddies. 7:30, 8 o'clock. I checked in the day before on Thursday. I actually really liked how they did check in at the airport. So I got off the plane, got down, and I saw the desk there, and they actually opened up early. So I got in line, grabbed my badge, and then me and my friends, we took an Uber to the convention center, waited in line to get inside, and then that's where we got our competitors' kits. So we got a playmat, we got sleeves, we got a pin, we got the hat. And then we just kind of walked around. We shopped some of the vendors that were there. I didn't play any games on Thursday, but then we went back and play tested. And then Friday was the first day of competition. Got there, had an amazing opening ceremony. They really highlighted the different cultures in New Orleans. That was really cool to see and just experience that. And at first we were all nervous, like, oh man, we're so far back, we're not going to see anything. But this year they had screens all throughout the center, so we can actually see what was going on stage. So I thought that was really cool. The only bad thing was we didn't hear any of the announcements because the microphones weren't working.
Oh no!
So I'm not sure how it was, what people heard he like watching the stream. But in the venue, like when Skarzig and Spraggles came on stage and kind of like hyping everyone up, we're like, and we don't know what's going on. So we're just like joking around. I was like with a nice group of people. One guy actually didn't have his first round opponent show up, so he was like sitting across the MTC, and we're watching the opening ceremony, and you'll see the people dressed up in their outfits.
Yeah, there's a lot. I've been to these. The cosplay is on point at these big tournaments, man.
Oh, I'm not even talking about cosplay. I'm talking about the performers for the opening ceremony.
Oh, I didn't
They're
watch.
Just joking around like, oh, there's your person. That's why he's late. And he's like just coming in full gear. But it was nice. And then we started competition. My first round was actually against a Grimmsnarl deck.
Okay.
So going into this, I decided to play Joltik Box.
Mm-hmm.
So I practiced this deck for a couple weeks. So one interesting thing was I went in with a testing partner. I'd never really done that before.
Uh-huh.
And it's with a person that has made worlds for the last couple of years, so he's a very good in the game. It's not like I went with someone that had no idea what they were doing. I trusted him throughout the whole entire process. So we went in playing the same 60. So my first round, I went against Grimmsnarl, which is I would say 50-50 when you play the Joltik Box right, because we play the Iron Leaves to hit for weakness, but Monkey Dory is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So I took game 1, he took game 2. We literally had 2 minutes to play game 3, and we made a gentleman's because we didn't want to end on a tie this early.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the first KO, and in turn 3, he took the last KO, and we're both at 2-2. So I'm like, we agreed on prizes, so then we're trying to figure out, are we going to go to board state? And like I had I could knock out his only Pokemon in play, but obviously if we were playing a normal game, he wouldn't have done what he did. I understood that. So he was like, hey, there's just too many variables. We can't tell who's going to win this match. I'm like, bro, I get it. You don't have to uphold the gentleman's. She's like, can we do a tie? I'm like, yep, I totally understand this.
Yeah.
Wish I would have got the win because I had the better board state, but it is what it is. I got a tie.
He made his board state based on a certain amount of decisions he had to make too. So it's one of those hypotheticals. It's hard to do. So you got a round 1 tie against Grimmsnarl. So who was your round 2?
So round 2, I went against Ethan's Typhlosion.
Okay.
So I was not expecting to hit this matchup, and the worst thing is this is not a favorable matchup for me because they can take out everything on my board so quick.
Yeah.
And they did. Like he won 2-0. I misplayed a couple times in different things. But yeah, I went 2-0, so I ended at 0-1-1 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then round 3, I hit a Gardevoir player. So obviously I was expecting the Gardevoir matchup. That's close as well, just because you can try to go 2-2-2 with the Iron Hands.
Uh-huh.
But Gardevoir is Gardevoir, and it can make magic out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that was another loss for me. So going into 0-2-1, still having a shot if I win out to make day 2. So not out of it.
So we're talking round 4. You're like, I have to win out.
Basically.
Yeah, let's talk about the reality of the situation.
Not impossible.
Not impossible.
Very hard, but not impossible. So I go into round 4, hit a Godangle. It was Godangle Dragapult, but he never got to the Dragapult. So it was essentially a Godangle player. That can be, depending on how I set up, favorable for me, but not favorable. I do, in my list, I did play the Genesect. That's something I've been very high on, and that me and my testing partner, we agreed on that right away. Like, we have to play the Genesect that shuts down. It's really for the Raging Bolt matchup, but for Godango, you want to shut down the Energy Search Pro, because without that, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
So he won game 1, I won game 2. We go into game 3, go into time, and he just got it out at the last second. He learned from, as soon as he figured out I had Genesect, Game 3, he played Energy Search Pro really quick. I only played one Iono, so those energies were going to be in his hand the whole entire time.
Yeah. Okay.
So at that point, 0-3-1, I'm out of day 2, just trying to see if I can, how far I can go before I really get burnt out. So go into my next match, which was, I'm trying to remember when. When I played a Dragon Ball player
Okay.
for the next round. So Dragon Bolt's another one of those matches. If I can go Iron Hands, I'm fine. So first game, go. I chose to go second. That's what you do as a Joltik box player. I get everything set up, and I was not expecting my opponent to rare candy, Dragon Bolt, rare candy, Dragon Bolt, rare candy, Dragon Bolt. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're not going to do Dracox? What's going on here? At that point, I'm like, I couldn't do anything. And then the problem is, like, yes, I played the Clefairy, but you don't want to do that so early because they can easily one-shot the Clefairy as a revenge. So it's like, so she won game 1, I won game 2. Ultimately, she won game 3. Maractus, I did not know Dragon Ball players play Maractus now. That's something I learned on the spot. And I started with Ursaluna.
You were stuck.
Yep. And she just kept corner.
So she had to do that 15 times, right? Because Ursaluna has 280 HP or something?
Not when you can retreat the corner into a Dragon Ball and one-shot it after 3 corners.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and my only switch out is Prime Catcher, so I had to use my Ace Spec early in that game.
Yeah.
So 0-4-1, and at that point, I called it quits. I'm like, I can't do this. Something I didn't mention before in the playtesting the night before, I went 0-6.
But you were kind of stuck at that point because your deck list is already submitted. You flew to a different state with only one deck in your bag. Like you kind of fully committed at that point.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm done. There's 4 more rounds in the tournament. I'm like, I'm just gonna drop. I'm gonna relax. And I went back to the room, took a shower because
yeah, you called me when you dropped. You're like, oh, I'm done for the day. I'm like, oh, this is early.
Sometimes you just have to know when to call it. Obviously, yes, I am frustrated that I didn't even win a single game, but the ICs are a whole different beast. I've never been to one, so now I know the caliber going into it. But it gives me an easy goal for next season if I do decide to go to NAIC again.
Just one win.
Just one win. Just one win. That's an easy goal to achieve. But it was fun. Like after I dropped, there was no pressure on me anymore. So I walked around, saw what side events were going on. I walked up to see what was on stream. I shopped the vendors. One of the vendors actually, one cool thing they did was they were selling the metallic pencil cases and the metallic like tins and lunch boxes and all that you see at the store.
Yeah.
And they were really cheap. They were like $1 for the pencil cases, $5 for a lunchbox. And my wife works at a school, so I'm like, I text her, I'm like, hey, would your kids want some pencil cases and lunch boxes for the school store? So I bought 6 things. So now the kids have 6 items for their school store when they get back in August. And I just walked back to my Airbnb, chilled, took a nap, watched the stream, rewatched the Ethan Cyphlosion match that was on stream, and just enjoying myself. Like there's not all my friends were still playing. They were all in contention at one point. So I just told them like, hey, let me know when you're going to get food. I'll meet you. And all of a sudden I woke up from my nap and they were like hovering over me. I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, we all dropped after round 7. I'm like, okay, cool.
So let's talk about kind of like some of the stuff we were kind of circling around, right? So you picked a deck, you had a testing partner, stuff that this is definitely stuff that you normally don't do for a tournament. So
no, yeah.
So you picked Joltik Box. Why did you pick Joltik Box? Just in general.
I asked. So during my testing, I was kind of lost. This is something I've been kind of talking about on the podcast for a little bit. Ever since rotation, I have not found that deck that I really gravitated towards. I really love the Cloth Trapagos. I played Cloth for a while, and I understood those lines really, really well. I just couldn't find a deck that I really identified with because, yes, I guess you could say I'm semi-competitive. I don't know where I really fall into this competitive Pokemon arena here, but I just couldn't find a deck that I really truly understood and really loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that shows with this because we had a group chat with the people I was staying with. I'm like, hey y'all, I honestly have no idea what to play. Like I've been testing so many decks, I am lost. What advice do y'all have? And my testing partner, who made day 2 with the same 60, so we'll get into that in a little bit. He was like, hey, I'm playing Joltik Box. I really like the deck. I think it has great matchups into everything. And he's very analytical. Like, he's showing me tables he's made from his testing. And he was like, yeah, like, I think it's like pretty much even throughout everything we're going to go against. So I'm like, okay, I want to take you at your word. You're a great player. You've made worlds. And just throughout the week leading up to it, we're having conversations about like, okay, what is like the 59th, 60th card, just so we can figure out what we're doing. And fun fact, like we actually didn't pick the stadium until the night before.
Yeah, because you called me Wednesday for advice on the deck.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out what to do. We're like, we need a stadium. What do you think? We actually ended up going Mesagoza out of all the cards.
Yeah, and so you said you were lost for weeks. You were doing play testing. You're play testing the Gambit. I think you at one point had 4 different decks that you were talking to me about, and this was kind of on the fringe, but wasn't something you wanted to really test. So, do you obviously your play testing partner made day 2? He got top 256 in the tournament. You went 0-4-1. Like you guys had 2 completely different trajectories for the tournament using the same 60. So, do you think if you would have picked this deck sooner in your testing cycle, you may have been able to understand the deck better and been able to maybe navigate the tournament better?
Absolutely. Talking to the person during the tournament, he was like, how do your rounds go? I'm like, oh, I'll tell him how it goes. And he was like, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z. And he's like, he's been playing this deck much more than I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell like I wasn't seeing the lines fully. And that goes with just comfortability of the list, comfortability of how the deck runs, and that's just experience with playing the deck. And I didn't really do that because I kept on like switching on off. Like I played Joltik Box at a challenge, didn't do well. Switched to Roaring Moon, didn't do well. And I've been playing like Ethan's Typhlosion because I'm like, oh, this is a really cool deck. Wasn't doing well. It's like if I would have just stuck with the deck, even through the ebbs and flows of playing it, I feel like I would have known the lines better and have a better understanding of how the deck truly works, especially against the meta decks.
Mm-hmm.
One big, I don't want to say disadvantage, but I don't play live a lot. Like, yeah, we have our videos, but that's really the few times I really play. I really don't grind.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one thing I should have done more was really dedicate more time every single day to really learn the deck and maybe do a couple more 2 out of 3s versus just playing a single match on live.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, like you've been talking about it, you picked a deck. I hate to say it, you picked the deck pretty much last minute. You didn't put the time into it. You went to a high level tournament, and then you're play testing. Like you said, you went to a challenge. You didn't do well. You play tested the night before, what, 06. Like nothing about this deck, and you got along during this entire process. So you even said it after you and I were talking. He's like, this not a surprise that you were surprised about because nothing went well. Like going into Friday, you were not expecting to go 6-0-2. Like you're like nothing is feeling right with this deck, but you're too committed at this point. You kind of have to go all in on it.
Yeah, and I'm not the type of person to have a bunch of decks either. So I picked one deck. I brought it with me. I brought some meme decks just to play at sides, and that's it. I'm not the type of person that has a bunch of competitive level decks that I can just pick the night before. I don't have those resources to me. So yeah, as soon as I said I'm doing Joltik, I bought the cards I needed. I bought the text I thought I may want to put in last second. But it just shows like I'm learning from this. This was something I've never done before. One, going to an IC. Two, doing like a testing thing with someone else. It's a learning experience for sure. I kind of went against the advice we talk about, but it's just I wanted to stick to a deck, but every time I chose a deck, it just didn't feel right. And I'm still at that point. I don't think there is a deck that feels right to me. Even post NAIC, I'm still trying to figure that out.
And you're going to have an opportunity, right? We have a new set coming up in about a month. We have a new format coming out post Worlds. So you're going to have a lot of time to kind of just play around online whenever the time you do get, and kind of figuring out what you want to do. I know on this podcast we do a lot of like off the wall ideas. We do a whole bunch of non-meta level competitiveness, but that's the whole point. Like we want to show how much fun rogue decks can be and how creative the card pool is. But if you're wanting to turn the corner and be more a competitive player, you're going to have to flirt with that tier 2, tier 1.5 sometimes. You're like, all right, this may not be the top 5 decks, but is it good enough for me to get X, Y, or Z? And you had that with Cloth for the longest time. Now you're trying to find that new identity.
Exactly. And as we mentioned before, the list I played wasn't bad. And the reason why we can say that is my playtesting partner got top 256 with it. Like he made day 2 and got points and secured his Worlds invite. I totally accepted responsibility. I know it wasn't a list. Honestly, I used every single card that during the tournament, during the 5 rounds I did play. And there were some tweaks that me and him talked about after the fact, but overall it was a pretty solid list. I just couldn't see the lines.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I go learn from that. And honestly, I had a great rest of the weekend. Like I hung out with people from Florida that I normally don't see. I ate some great food. I did some Pokemon trivia at one of the restaurants on Saturday night. Like we literally asked the restaurant, like, hey, can we put on the semifinals for TCG? They put it on there and we're answering crazy trivia about Pokemon, and it was just a blast. Like I don't regret going on this trip. I really want to go more. I want to go next year for sure. Like I typically go to 2 majors a year, and I want to make NAIC one of them for sure.
Okay. I mean, I'm glad you're not like so spurned by the bad competitive experience. You did enjoy the other aspects, and you clearly did, which is the whole point of going to these major tournaments, right? You're going to a city you don't usually go to. The ICs are conventions within themselves. Like you went to the Pokemon Center, people were cosplaying left, right, and center. There were side events all over the place. Like even if you don't compete in the main event, going to an IC is still a fun competitive experience.
Yeah, I wish I would have done GLC. I did bring my GLC deck, but the GLC tournament was the same time as my Pokemon Center reservation. So I'm like,
it was hard enough to get those, so I don't blame you.
Yeah. So I bought some stuff. I got some NIC merch there, so it was really cool. I went with one of our friends as well, so it was like we're both walking around seeing what we want. But yeah, it's just like I basically turned player to spectator as soon as I dropped, and yeah, it was a fun experience no matter what, and it gives me goals for next season.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to be very optimistic about this. And going into it, I knew I wasn't going to get my Worlds invite. I had to get top 4 to get my Worlds invite. So I just wanted to enjoy.
You needed the auto bid. You needed that auto bid.
Yeah, basically. So it was fun. I love it. It was really cool seeing like all the Pokemon people around the city, and just like meeting people in line talking about it. Actually, kind of promoted the podcast a little bit too, and so because I was saying like, yeah, like I'll talk about road decks, and the amount of people that love road decks is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I hate Guardy. I hate, and like I'll talk about like the Lycanroc deck, and they're like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I spent way too much time theory crafting that deck.
Hey, I brought it with me.
Yeah, no, you
I
sent me a
brought it with me.
picture.
I was
You're
gonna
like,
play it
I'll play
at
it.
side events.
So, but speaking of road decks, I'm going to transition over to the road deck of the week this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, the card that I picked, because you had NAIC, you had all that, so I'm like, all right, let me take over. I'll do this week, no big deal. I picked Yanmega because the conversation you and I had over the card when we were going over the set, because part of it was Grimmsnarl took over the ladder for the last 3 weeks. And I'm like, I want to counter this card hard. How do I do it? Well, one-shotting it will help. Let's one-shot Grimmsnarl. And I wasn't really sure how to partner it, so I looked online, kind of seen how other people were looking at it. And I saw the Terra Vespiquen. I'm like, this is a cool concept. It's a psychic Pokemon that needs grass energy, and it does 200 and then spread 3 damage or put 3 damage counters on anything else that had damage on it. So I'm like, all right, I could ping, I can throw the Uxie for 1 psychic energy and kind of just do what you need to do. With Yanmega, it's you attack and move 3 energy. Well, Fezandipiti is a really good partner because you can always put the 3 energy on Fezandipiti and put 100 wherever you want. So there's a whole bunch of different things you could do with the deck. I play tested a couple matches with it. I haven't really done a lot with it, but it's one of the decks where the biggest issue and biggest concern I would have with this deck is that Monkey Dory will feast on this. If it doesn't one-shot, it spreads. And if it's spreading, Monkey Dory loves it. That's my concern with the deck. If you run into a Monkey Dory deck, Monkey Dory is going to be like, thank you for the damage, here you go. But other than that, I think it's really fun with the Yanmega where you promote it, search 3 energy. It's a 4 energy attack, but you're searching 3 energy, so it's really just a 1 attachment. So then you do 210 and then move that 3 energy to somewhere else. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with the deck. I'm in the probably the middle stages of playtesting and kind of getting familiar with it. So I haven't done enough to say, oh, you should be excited for the video we do at the end of the week. I'm still getting ready to actually put my feet into the ladder of that because I've been trying to get comfortable with it first. I do a lot of testing. I probably do about 2 to 3 hours of testing with the AI before I even go to the ladder. And I'm now at the point where I feel comfortable with the deck, and I'm excited to see how it does, especially against Grimmsnarls, and kind of going from there. So it's a fun deck. 2 stage 2s. One of them is a Terra. One of them is a new card from Destined Rivals. It accelerates energy from the deck, which is always a fun mechanic, and you get to move that energy around. So when you attack, you put the energy on the bench. So it's kind of pseudo protection a little bit. So it's really, really fun. I'm excited to see how the video and the testing for the video goes. So definitely keep an eye on that for this Friday. But it's one of the things I was telling you. I'm like, it is not a good matchup against Monkey Dory. And if you run into a lot of Monkey Dory either at your local scene or on the ladder, it's not the deck. Monkey Dory enjoys its philosophy because it goes, oh, you're going to put damage on me. Thank you. So that is a big concern I have with the deck. But it also, on the flip side, if you're not playing against Monkey Dory decks, you're playing against those setup decks where they're trying to get to a stage 1, then a big stage 2. You could take advantage of that by doing a couple, like an Uxie, Vespiquen, really pile up the damage and kind of just cleaning up with your attackers. So definitely 2 different ways of playing the deck. It really depends on the matchup. So I'm excited to see what the ladder gives me, to see how I play the deck against other people, not just AI.
Yeah, I was actually looking up to see how Yanmega did at NAIC.
No.
The best was 432 at 1,124th place.
Yeah, no, this is not a deck that I would bring to an IC. I barely would bring this deck to a challenge, to be quite honest with you. But it's an EX card that I was really excited to play and test with, so I wanted to see it. And Grimmsnarl is popular, so I'm like, why not make a grass deck? So that was my approach to this week's kind of pick. So,
and I will say, you may see popularity in dark Pokemon now too, with Gabriel Fernandez winning with Charizard. So this may become even better with that as well. But yeah, it's a fun deck. You can spread damage around. You have the TM Devolution to kind of get some easy KOs that way too against evolution decks. So it's a fun little deck. It was doing well on online tournaments for a little bit. I
Yeah.
think people just learned how to play around it. But yeah, it's if you're looking for something just to try something different, Yanmega is strong. The energy acceleration is probably one of the best in the game right now.
Yes.
But and you can like pair it with the Lillie's Clefairy. You have the Fezandipiti for a draw. I think it is all around a very solid deck for sure.
No, yeah, it is. You have multiple ways to play it, which is why I like it, because you can do spread or you can just do big booming attacks. You don't. It doesn't complement. It complements each other, but you don't have to. So that's the big thing with the deck. It's you have to kind of read your matchup to see, do you want Uxie and Vespiquen, or do you just want to do Yanmega?
Exactly.
So
I like the enhanced hammer in the list.
That's yeah, the 2 enhanced hammer with the amount of special energy in format for sure is a must include. I was not over exaggerating when I think enhanced hammer is going to be a very powerful card. I think with this double rockets energy, luminous energy, legacy energies in format, enhanced hammer is going to become more included in a lot more decks. The more special energy gets included into these formats for sure.
Oh yeah, so that's this week's Rogue Deck of the Week. We will have the video this Friday at noon. So stay tuned for that. We also we did release a Rogue Deck video last week. We didn't record an episode. Just too busy with NAIC prep and all that. But we did show my version of Ethan's Typhlosion. So if you want, go ahead and watch that as well. It's very similar to one on the list that did make day 2. So I'm glad that I was kind of like on the same wavelength as someone that did well at the International Championship. So go ahead and take a look at that video as well. Some housekeeping real quick going forward. We're not going to be doing our podcast episodes every week. With summer going on full force, we're going to kind of take it easy. We'll do an episode every other week. We'll have some topics going for y'all. But we will do the Rogue Deck videos. So me and Devin are already talking about what archetypes we want to feature. So stay tuned to see what interesting lists we will create and show y'all. Other thing is we're on our road to 100 subscribers. So once we hit that, we will do a special live stream with me, Joe, and the other RDC playtesting team. We'll pick some of our favorite Rogue decks and do a Rogue Deck Tournament of Champions. And we'll just see which one is the best in a 8 deck format. So if you want to help us out, please subscribe, tell your friends about us. And also like this video. Like if you like what we do, it really shows us that you appreciate the work and the content that we put out there. And it just gives us even more motivation to do this stuff for y'all, because we love talking about the road decks and just seeing how they interact with the competitive scene as well.
Absolutely.
So Devin, with all that being said, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers and listeners this week?
No, I'm really glad that everyone had fun. NAIC looked amazing. Now everyone's turning their focus to Worlds. But the problem is Worlds is a very long time away from now. So we just have to kind of play test, digest a card pool, get a new set in the meantime, and see what happens.
Exactly. I'm excited to see what Black Bolt and White Flare brings us. I know I've already been talking about different ideas with my friends about what we can do with it. But yeah, in the meantime, let's just enjoy Destined Rivals, play some fun Pokemon, and see if we can get some interesting decks out there. But thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. I am Dean. Devin, thank you for being on with me this week. And as always, have fun playing those sneaky decks.
Bye, guys.